Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your host, Steve Ramona, and I'm excited because we're going to talk a little tech today. We're going to talk about how tech can serve you, and it's a tool, CRMs, that are everywhere. You can just do Google, you get 100 CRMs. But what we're going to find out is how it can really serve you and how important it is to have it. Ruben, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. Excited to be here.
So in the green room before the show, we were talking about you went from consulting to building your own CRM, completely different industries. Why?
Because I'm crazy is the short version of the story. The longer version of the story is I was a sales and marketing consultant for Fortune 500 companies. And I like to think that we did good work for our clients because they would call us back to do other projects. They would make referrals for us and so on. But the deep irony is that I really struggled with my own sales and marketing. And I thought, well, okay, I know I'm struggling. I need help, but look, I'm getting paid to sit in the room with some of the top sales and marketing people on the planet. I just need to take good notes and copy what they're doing. And it seemed like a good idea at the time, but as usual, when I try to be too clever, I was outsmarting myself, and I actually made things a lot worse. And looking back, it's obvious that what works when you have a 5,000 person sales team and a $5 billion marketing budget is going to be very different than what's going to work for you if you're trying to do sales and marketing in your spare time. And I never set out to build what I consider the anti-CRM for independent consultants. I just wanted to know if people were reading my proposals, because I would send the proposal out and the meeting to discuss it would get rescheduled. And then I was stuck in that voicemail loop of, hey, just wondering if you got my proposal. And I thought, well, if I put this in the cloud, I could at least know when they're reading it. So I did that and had such a great experience. The prospect and I had a great conversation. We got everything nailed down, and we went and did the work, which is what we both actually cared about, right? The proposal process is just a hassle for both of us. But I was telling some people about this, and they said, oh, that's really cool. I'd like to have that. So I took this little tool that I had designed for myself and turned it into an app. And then people started asking for more stuff. And I was always in the mindset that I will go and find the thing that you need, because I just built this proposal tool. Wow, that's pretty cool. I don't need to go build other stuff. But I realized that there were tons of tools out there that my clients were looking for. And they started off with lead gen. They said, well, now that the proposal process is really efficient and effective, I need to get more people in the front of my funnel. They're not built for these independent consultants. They're built for e-commerce companies where you get an email address and you do a bunch of marketing, or they're built for big sales teams like HubSpot. You send a white paper and the sales team calls you every day for 3 weeks or whatever, but not for this tribe. So I built a way for this tribe to actually get leads and conversations off the website. And then they started saying, hey, Ruben, I love your stuff. I hate my CRM. Can you just make Mimran do the CRM stuff? And of course I said, no, that would be nuts. The world doesn't need another CRM. I'm the last person who should build one. I hate CRMs, blah, 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 blah. And you can kind of see where this is going. And they were like, well, that's why you should do it, because you understand. And again, looking back, it's obvious. Traditional CRMs are built for the VP of sales to keep track of the sales team. And that's a very worthwhile goal. But when you're an independent consultant, you don't have a sales team. You're the VP of sales and the sales rep and the VP of marketing and the marketing analyst. Mm-hmm. And you're doing all of those things in your spare time, and you hate them all. So different requirements from your tool set than somebody in my former corporate environment. So I just got so frustrated that I couldn't do some really basic things. I wanted to keep track of who is making referrals for me. I wanted to have a really easy way, because I'm introverted. I don't like sales, but I knew I needed to keep up with people and have conversations with them. Like, why isn't my CRM making it easy to do these things that are so fundamental? I don't need all the bells and whistles from these enterprise tools. I just need simple things like that. So I was like, maybe I should listen to my customers and actually build this thing.
And I like that, because the lesson learned here, you really served your clients and people work with you. They asked you questions and you built around what they asked you.
I think that's right. And somebody smarter than me said, don't fall in love with your offer, fall in love with your client's problems and solving them. Right. And then you can say, okay, I'm listening to you and I'm hearing. And I think one of the things that I love about your podcast and serving people is it's not just about making money. That's important for business, obviously, but it's also about doing something meaningful. And if we are listening to people and solving their real problems, we are doing something meaningful. We're helping other people. And I think at the end of the day, most of us would much rather do that, even if the rest of our day was identical, even if the money involved was identical. Having something that actually makes a difference to somebody else makes a huge difference in our own lives.
And the servant part is powerful because one thing that we talk about in sales, follow up. And a CRM is your serving tool to follow up, because if you don't follow up, chances of sales don't happen, right?
That's exactly right. And if you look at it, I have this chart I like to put in presentations sometimes. It's like, how many conversations do you need to have to turn a prospect into a client? And what's your follow-up percentage? And if it's anything less than 100%, let's say it's 90%, 80%, something pretty solid that most people are not getting. But if you need to have 3, 4, 5 conversations, let alone 6, 7, 8, you're losing half your business before you even get to the real conversations because you're just not following up. And I had that happen to me a bunch. And I like to think that I'm pretty rigorous and I'm process oriented and so on. But every once in a while, I'd forget to put that next conversation date in my tool, or I'd have too many tabs open. I'd get logged out. And it was like, poof, that person was gone. And why?
I'm laughing because it's happened to me. I'm sure everybody on the show, or listening to the show, listeners. Here's the elephant in the room for me is, and we haven't talked about this, but AI serving CRMs. Do you see that happening, or are you doing it now?
So I don't have any AI built directly into my CRM, but it's an important part of my workflow. And I think we're going to see it. All the big companies out there are, slapping an AI logo on things and telling you that they're doing AI. But there's a couple places where I think it's really useful. Some of it is just doing like manual labor. So, you have an email signature or a LinkedIn set of contact information. Instead of having to copy and paste that, or make sure you have a Zap set up or something like that, I just throw it into ChatGPT and say, give me that link for the new contact. And I click the link and boom, it opens up Mimrin and it's got all the contact info filled out, and I hit save. So little things like that save some time. The other place that I think it's really useful, especially for those small business folks who are not necessarily great at talking about what they do, right? They're good at the serving part, but the actual description of it, sometimes a little lacking, sometimes a little bland, not really doing themselves justice is the way I look at it. Like, hey, you're not giving yourself credit with your website, with your LinkedIn profile, with the elevator pitch you just gave in this virtual meeting, et cetera. Sometimes AI can be super helpful in just giving you a bunch of ideas about how you might want to talk about yourself. And if you combine that with talking to your customers, right, getting them to use their words to describe what you did for them, what they were struggling with, why what they tried before didn't work, et cetera, and then say, okay, ChatGPT or whatever your AI tool of preference is, here's what I'm hearing. Give me 20 slogans with 2 to 5 words to describe this. Make them memorable, right? And you might hate all of them, but you might say, oh, numbers 7 and 12 are kind of interesting. Iterate on those. It's like having a marketing intern, except instead of going off for a week and coming back, or going off for a day and coming back, it comes back 5 seconds later. So you can really iterate quickly. And I think it's really powerful. I think there's a lot of people using AI as a crutch, right? Like they're scared of creating the content. They don't want to do the work. And so they're outsourcing the work to AI. And what I'm thinking of it instead is, we're using AI like an intern to do a lot of the research, do a lot of the iteration, do some of the proofreading, do some of the brainstorming for us. But it's, especially when it's our business, I think it's important that it be your words, your business, something that you put your stamp on, not something that you outsource to somebody else.
Well said. You're a tech guy, I can tell now. Going from consulting to tech is just crazy to me, but it's cool that you crossed over. And AI it doesn't have your heart. And that's what I tell people when they ask me, and I'm on shows, my thoughts, it's just make sure your heart's part of it, your passion. Don't make it robotic. And you came up with a great idea, and you don't even know you did, I don't think. But when you do a one-on-one call with somebody to get to know them, which is what I teach, pop in the AI something about this person. Hey, what questions can I ask about this person? And I've never thought about that, and I just wrote it down. So I think I owe you. We'll talk about that later. And in regards to, I'm looking at my notes here. You mentioned anti-CRM. What's your description of that? Without, you're not going to destroy company, put down companies, but what's the anti-CRM?
And this really comes from my conversations with my customers, because they were like, Ruben, it's a CRM, but it's not a CRM. because when most people think of CRMs, they think of this tool for the VP of sales to keep track of the sales team. That's what a
Yeah.
traditional CRM is for. That's what the category is really about. And that's why so many folks who don't have sales teams freaking hate CRMs. They know they need something beyond their spreadsheet or their stack of business cards or whatever, but they keep trying all these CRMs and getting frustrated. And it's because they're using a tool that's built for a different purpose. And I like to use the analogy of, you got these enterprise tools that are like the space shuttle or a jumbo jet, or maybe even the simple ones are like a private jet. And I just need a truck to go to the grocery store, right? I can't even land my freaking jet at the grocery store. I want something beyond me having to carry everything. I can't keep track of it all in my head, but just make it simple and make it suited for my purpose. And like you said, this is nothing against those situations where you need a space shuttle or you need a jumbo jet. Great. Those are available and you should use those, not my tool, right? Because it's not going to be the right fit. It's all about having the right tool in the right situation. And I think so many times, like you mentioned, there's hundreds of CRMs out there. And I don't know if there's anything that's like absolutely perfect for everybody, but it's like having a camera or a car or those things that people say, hey, Steve, what car should I buy? What camera is the best one? It's like, well, what are you using it for? What are your needs? And sometimes people say, well, gosh, I don't know. I just need a CRM. And I said, well, let's think in a little more detail about what does your business look like? How do your customers buy? How do you sell? How do we put those things together in a situation that's going to work for you? I like to think of it kind of like a
Yeah.
gym. Like when you get into your workout routine, you look forward to going to the gym, you feel better about doing it, you like it, you have buddies, etc. Versus people on January 1st going, oh gosh, this year I should probably really go to the gym, but I hate it. And for years, that's how I thought of CRM, right? It was like this necessary evil that I'm going to force myself to do, and blah, 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 but I could just never get myself to look forward to it. And I wanted to make something that I would look, not only my customers, but I would look forward to logging into every day thinking, oh, cool. I get to talk to some neat people about stuff I enjoy talking about that's useful to them.
And I love your servant's heart in your business where you know your niche. If I'm Apple, I'm not going to use your CRM. That's not the goal of it. Your
No,
mission and passion is help solopreneurs. In regards to servant, what is a servant leader to you?
well, let me even go in case people are listening and saying, I'm a solopreneur. It's not for all solopreneurs either, right? Like
Yep.
it's even more refined than that. There are people, like I was talking to a real estate agent the other day who was desperate for a CRM. And I'm like, Mimrin will do half of what you need. And the other half, you need your real estate tool that's driving you crazy. I'm sorry, right? And you're welcome to do both if you want, but I don't think you're going to be happy that way, right? It is really for consultants, coaches, fractional people, folks like that who are selling their expertise. So there are a lot of solopreneurs who are going to be much better served by a different CRM.
And
But
that's
when it
the
comes,
servant's heart, Ruben. Sorry to interrupt. Just what you just did there. You could have brought the guy on. He bought your product and 3 months in, not be happy. And you don't need to do that. It's the money's
yeah,
not worth. Yeah.
well, and it's also like, aside from the ethics of it, even if you're just a cold-hearted, non-servant, selfish bastard, like it's just going to chew up a bunch of your time dealing with the people who are not the right fit. So, even if you're like not quite ready to be full servant-hearted, do yourself a favor along with the other person, right? And focus on spending your time where you
Yeah.
can have the most impact. And I think that's, to me, you asked about what does it mean to be servant hearted. I think it's about putting others before ourselves. And I think this is a big struggle in business. And we see a lot of examples of people who definitely put themselves first. They take advantage of other people. They're always trying to press for their own benefit. And some of them are very successful, right? If you're a psychopath, that will give you an advantage in certain situations. And you read about a lot of these people in the press. So
Yeah.
we see examples of that. And then we also know a lot of folks who maybe they're so servant-hearted that they don't look after their own needs. And not only does that restrict what they do for themselves, but it restricts the impact that they can have because they're not able to help the people that their highest calling is to help. And I think kind of the sweet spot is being able to figure out where that tribe is that you are on earth to help, because then it makes it so much easier, like I did, to say, hey, if you're a realtor, don't use my CRM, right? Like I'm not going to bend over backwards to get you set up and answer your questions, and you're not going to be unhappy, et cetera. Staying really focused is super helpful when you're servant hearted. These are the people who are going to be most eager to give you money. You're not going to have to deal with a whole bunch of objections. And when you actually get the projects going, they go well. They tend to make you excited. They tend to make the other person excited, et cetera. And I like to think of this as there's this like really super sophisticated, top secret sales plan that I've got for these servant-hearted folks who need to have these relationships with their prospects and clients. I don't know. Do we have time for me to reveal it here?
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. Step 1, figure out exactly who you need to have conversations with. Step 2, have conversations with those people. If you do those 2 things, good things are going to happen.
I love it. In regards to what you were saying about receiving and gifting, serving, what I learned a while back, which has changed my life, is when you serve somebody, you give them 12 referrals and they ask, inevitably, they go, wow, thank you so much, Steve. How can I help you? Oh, I'm good. You just turn them into a taker subconsciously or consciously. And they're like, well, he gave me all these referrals. I want to help him. He won't let me help him. That was a key, what you just said. It's got to be a boomerang effect, I call it. You give and you receive, give and receive. It's okay. So it's okay to have abundance. Depends what you do with the abundance. That's all.
Well, that was one of the interesting things that I learned from reading Bob Berg's book, The Go-Giver, right? Like I was one of those people who's like, oh, I'm good, right? Like I'm very independent and I don't want to bother you and all that. But you're right, that deprives people who want to help you of that opportunity.
And a little promotion. I don't usually do this. Bob Berg will be on my show in 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for the episode, because you're right, Ruben. It ties into serving, the go-giver, going to give.
Yep. And he said something interesting to me. He was on my podcast. He said, Ruben, you don't hate sales. You hate what you mistakenly think sales is.
Yeah,
And I
it's
was
the
like,
thought.
that's exactly right.
Mindset. Well, that leads to the mindset with like all tech tools. Let's just not talk about CRM, but all the tech tools, we need them if you're online doing business. What do you think the mindset should be, or the listeners should have when it comes to tech tools?
Well, it's such a broad question. Maybe if we can bring it in a little bit, but I think it's so easy, especially for someone like me. I'm a techie, so I kind of like tools just I'm curious about them, almost like a hobby. And I think the question is, are they serving the business? And one of the things that I try to think about now is, does this save me time from something that I have to do anyway, right? Like, automating accounting tasks or some crap like that I don't care about. I just want to make more efficient. Or does it bring me closer to my customers? Right? Does it help me have more conversations with the right people? And if it doesn't do those things, then why am I wasting my time with it?
With that
Now,
general question, you niched it down perfectly. I love that. Go over those 2 points again, because the listeners need to hear that.
saving time on stuff that I have to do anyway, right? By basically outsourcing required tasks to technology, or bringing me closer to my customers. And specifically, I want to have conversations with customers. And I'm an introvert. I don't like sales. I don't like what I mistakenly think selling is, according to Bob. But I realize that if you're in a relationship business, you're in a conversation business. And to me, a lot of kind of what we're talking about coming full circle, it's like when you have that tribe of people that you're really called to help, having conversations with those people doesn't seem like a chore. It seems like fun, right? Like if you're the doctor and you're a cardiologist and you're talking to heart patients all day, that's going to light you up. And we've all got that inside us somewhere. And part of the problem is we stand outside the hospital and we're like, you want to talk about your heart? You want to talk about your heart? You want to talk about your heart? And of course, that doesn't go very well. And then we think, gosh, this sucks. Instead of, let me make it really clear that if you've got heart issues, I'm the person to come to. And then we can just sit around and talk about heart stuff all day.
Yeah, passions and desires. That leads to a great question. What tip would you leave or give the listeners? Because we're talking about chatting with people. What's 1 or 2 tips that you do when you go in a chat with somebody, business-wise?
Well, I think, first of all, it's really helpful to set up the chat ahead of time. So it's not just, hey, let's get together for virtual coffee and see how we can support each other's businesses. I mean, I get dozens of those LinkedIn requests every week. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. And you clearly don't know anything about me. You're just like spamming me with stuff. So I don't have time for that. But part of it goes back to being really clear about who you want to be talking to, right? Not just your prospects, but the whole ecosystem around them. And the stronger you can be with your positioning, the more likely the people that you want to talk to are going to be like, Steve, I need your help with this stuff, right? Versus, oh, Steve, that's interesting. You're a really nice guy, but I just wasted a half hour of your life that could have been spent in a more effective manner. And I think a lot of people are scared to get specific, right? Like we were talking about, like the realtor, like, hey, don't waste your time. And that came from a referral, someone who, was trying to do me a favor and all that. So all good stuff. But, on my website, I'm like, if you're a realtor, this probably isn't for you. So be really specific about that. And that will raise the quality of the conversations that you have. Because I think that's where a lot of us get discouraged, especially when we're not into sales. You're like, oh man, I met with 8 people. I'm drained. This sucks. No one wants to buy anything. Or this person's kind of interested, but they seem like, they want a really big discount because they don't really value what I do. Right. And then you sort of have this vicious cycle. Instead, you meet with people who are in your world where even if they don't buy anything or make a referral, you're like, oh, well, we're just talking about stuff that we both care about that's interesting. And then I think one of the advantages I have, like when I was a sales and marketing consultant trying to do all this stuff, I tried to impersonate salespeople. And that was just a disaster. Just hated it, wasn't good at it, made everything go sideways. But I'm a naturally curious person. And I think most people are curious, and especially introverted people who maybe are nervous about the whole concept of conversations. But it's like, you love asking questions, you love learning things. Ask people questions about their stuff. People love venting about their problems, right? Be the person that they want to vent to about the thing that you help them with, and good things are going to happen.
That's why podcasts are so popular, because we're hearing when I've had introverts on and go, I've never been a guest. I'm like, no, just let me run. And they're like, you can't shut them up in a great way.
Right.
They just giving information out there, because we found, me and you do our podcast, that point of that they know their authority, they're happy, they get excited. Introvert goes away when that happens.
Well, I think there's this sort of myth out there that introverts don't like talking. And I believed it for years because there were a lot of situations where I didn't like being there, right? Like big trade shows and conferences and things like that, small talk around the cocktail napkins and nonsense like that. But most of us really like talking to people that we want to talk to about stuff we both want to talk about. And so it's up to us to be a little bit more intentional about setting up those conversations, but it's totally within our power to do that, especially if you've got a, handy CRM to help you. And I went from sort of forcing myself to do sales calls and all that, and I would have like the muscle cramps in my neck and the headache and just like, oh, this is terrible, to now I pretty much spend my day like this, like just having great conversations with awesome people. And at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, that was a great day. I learned so many cool things. I had cool conversations. Maybe some of them become customers, whatever it is, but I'm actually having a good time. And it's not that I'm less introverted. I'm just being more intentional about my conversations.
And I'm going to say, side note, a cocktail napkin is not a CRM. When you said that, I'm like, kind of, you were going that way. And it happens still to this day. I'm sure it's happening right now. It's lunchtime and back east. It's 9:30 Pacific. People are having lunch. Go, hey, let me get you, I won't get into that because we're running out of time here. But the last thing I want to ask, when you serve somebody, how do you feel?
Feel great. I think that's what we are here to do. And I think I'm a techie, so I'm maybe part of the problem, but there's so much of an emphasis on things that we can measure easily, which often translates to dollars, but other things along those lines. And I'm not saying that dollars are not important. They are, but they're still a proxy for something else, right? Like, are we creating meaning in our lives, which often comes from creating meaning in others' lives? And when you're serving people, that's what you're doing. And if you're doing a good job of kind of aligning your business with your servant heart, you're going to spend your days doing things that not only make you money, but make a difference.
Yeah, that's so great. And audience, this has been a great show. Ruben, I want to thank you for being on, taking time to be here and educating the listeners. We've learned a lot, but the thing that I want to recap is people. I think the bottom line we talked about today is people, connecting with people, and just be authentic.
That's absolutely right.
That's it, right? So let's be authentic with people like Ruben was authentic on this show today. And we'll see you at the next episode. Thanks for listening.